Can I go watch Crazy Rich Asians now? Today on Readus Reviews, I review BlacKkKlansmen, a biographical film that was produced by Jordan Peele and directed by Spike Lee, that tells the story of how the very first African-American police detective in Colorado Springs infiltrated the Ku Klux Klan. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard that not only was this a true story, but that it took place in Colorado Springs, I was all like, we live in Colorado? Why? Then again, I'm like that whenever I find out that there are black people like myself living in like middle state America in general. So it's like, I'm always shocked to find that out. But as far as the plot is concerned, it pretty much went how I expected it to go. And how I was expecting it to go was at a snail pace. Jesus Christ. Now, don't get me wrong, this is actually one of the things that I expected from this movie because of the fact that it's an espionage/undercover cop movie. I'm used to it going at a snail's pace. I'm used to those types of movies going very slow for me. It's part of the reason why I'm not necessarily a fan of those movies. But given the fact that I've seen movies like this, first being introduced to it through the Mike Epps LL Cool J star In Too Deep, I knew that this was going to be a snail crawl, and it wasn't going to help by the fact that this was a Spike Lee joint. Like, genre of film I'm not a real big fan of, plus director of film that I only like one movie of equals, ooh. The one film being The 25th Hour. That's pretty much my only Spike Lee movie that I'll actually stomach and that I actually like. And I'm not counting Malcolm X either. That's like right in the middle of like the Spike Lee-o-meter. It's like once you watch Malcolm X and then you decide to like watch the rest of his movies, the odometer will either go left or it will go right. Left being, I like his work, right being like, eh. And my Spike Lee-o-meter is like, there. It's not all the way there, but it's there. But it's that middle ground that Malcolm X kind of represents that makes me give a good gauge on where to rate this movie on my Spike Lee-o-meter, because it does a very good job at adapting the memoir that this movie is based on. And you can tell specifically through the main two aspects of this movie that I really enjoyed. And that's through the main two stars, John David Washington and Adam Driver. I was able to relate to Stallworth a lot over the course of this movie, mostly because he represents how I feel about a lot of like racial and political things regarding like black and white people and just like the overall civil rights divide and just everything. He wants to do something about the injustices that we as black people suffer from, but he doesn't believe in extremism. He wants to be the beacon of change that will allow black people to believe in cops again by working legit on the inside, but at the same time suffers the same amount of racism, even though he's technically one of them. You see him constantly struggle over his own ethical code, while at the same time trying not to quote-unquote sell out. And honestly, that's something that I go through every day, not just on like YouTube or anything, but in life in general. And seeing Adam Driver being very conflicted over the fact that he has to play this like racist asshole trying to get into the Ku Klux Klan while himself like trying to like hide his Jewish identity while at the same time reconnecting it because of how he's exposed to these racists and how he's just getting a whole new light over it at the same time as far as his own identity is also compelling. It's also good to see him not as Kylo Ren for once. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy Kylo Ren as a character. I'm just glad I got another sense of his acting range outside of Star Wars. But yeah, it was mostly like the performances that did this for me. Outside of the fact of the genre that this takes place in, the fact that this was a Spike Lee movie was actually an addition as to why I didn't necessarily care for this. And that's just a critique I have of a lot of his like creative and like visual decisions that he has over the course of his films. Like, there was a very powerful monologue from a very prominent civil rights activist in this movie that he wanted to do like a cutaway as far as building up dramatic tension. It just didn't work the way that he intended it. And also his Spike Lee-isms. They were toward the end. Like, if you watch Spike Lee movies, and you know exactly what the fuck that I'm talking about. But like his Spike Lee-isms, they felt out of place in this. Like, this was not the movie for you to put an actor on like a moving trolley and just pull them along while they're just standing still while the rest of the background is like moving in the background. This wasn't that movie. This wasn't the movie to use that. But you used it because you're Spike fucking Lee. I just Jesus Christ. But nevertheless, readers, this was a movie that needed to be told and that I'm glad exists. I personally just wish that it was told by somebody who was not Spike Lee. If you're a fan of his work, then I would say this is definitely a full admittance price. But if you're someone like me who doesn't necessarily care for most of his stuff, but still want to see this story because it is definitely an important story that needs to be told and needs to be seen, matinee or student ticket. Anyway, readers, your homework assignment for the day. Write in the comment section below what you thought of BlacKkKlansmen if you've seen it. If you want to help support the channel, you can purchase official merchandise by clicking the card at the end of the video or in the link in the description down below. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday. But until then, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.